In a recent series of events, Chinese President Xi Jinping has underscored the critical importance of food security in the nation during a visit to Jilin province, while also responding to a tragic landslide in Sichuan province that has left 1 dead and 28 missing. These incidents reflect the multifaceted challenges China faces, from agricultural revitalization to natural disaster management, all while navigating complex diplomatic relationships in the region. During his visit to Jilin, Xi emphasized that ensuring national food security is a political responsibility for major agricultural provinces. He highlighted the need for a diversified food supply system to strengthen agricultural resilience amid economic struggles in northeastern China. Jilin should develop modern agriculture, promote scientific and technological green and high-quality agriculture, and establish more agricultural brands, she stated, according to reports from state news agency Xinhua. This focus on modernizing agriculture is crucial as the 3 northeastern provinces, Heilongjiang, Jilin and Liaoning, contribute about a quarter of China's total grain supplies, yet are grappling with economic stagnation. Simultaneously, a devastating landslide struck Jinping village in Sichuan province, burying 10 houses and trapping several residents. As emergency workers scramble to rescue those trapped, President Xi has ordered an all-out effort to find survivors, stating that authorities should do everything possible to search and rescue missing people. This disaster is a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by mountainous regions in southwestern China, which are prone to such catastrophic events. The Chinese government has allocated approximately 50 million yuan, about $6.9 million, for infrastructure repairs and public services in the aftermath of the landslide. In a related geopolitical context, Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra recently visited China, seeking to enhance bilateral cooperation in tackling cyber scams that have affected both nations. Following her discussions with Xi, the Thai leader expressed commitment to combat illegal cyber operations, highlighting the need for a collaborative approach to security. Analysts suggest that while this cooperation could help mitigate the issue, it may not completely eradicate the problem, as cyber scams often shift locations to escape law enforcement efforts. Moreover, the evolving economic landscape in China was spotlighted in recent discussions about new consumption drivers. Xi's recent address at the Central Economic Work Conference outlined plans to boost domestic consumption while addressing challenges such as insufficient demand and hidden risks in the economy. The emphasis on sectors like the silver economy, catering to an aging population, and the burgeoning ice and snow economy, driven by winter sports and tourism, indicates a strategic pivot towards diversifying economic growth. However, challenges such as youth unemployment remain pressing, with rates reaching alarming highs in recent years. As China grapples with these intertwined issues, agricultural reform, disaster response, and economic innovation, its leaders are navigating a complex landscape that demands urgent attention and strategic foresight. The forthcoming months will be critical in determining how effectively these challenges are addressed, particularly as China seeks to bolster its position in an increasingly competitive global environment. The trajectory of these developments will undoubtedly have significant implications for China's future, both domestically and in its international relations. In a significant address during his recent visit to Jilin province, Chinese President Xi Jinping underscored the pivotal role of food security as a political responsibility for the nation's agricultural regions. This statement reflects the Chinese leadership's ongoing commitment to ensuring the stability of food supplies amid economic uncertainties and challenges facing the agricultural sector. During his tour of northeastern China, Xi emphasized that the revitalization of the local economy hinges on a robust agricultural framework. Guaranteeing national food security is the political responsibility of large agricultural and food provinces, he remarked in Changchun, Jilin's capital. The president's comments come at a time when China's northeastern provinces, Heilongjiang, Jilin, and Liaoning, are vital contributors to the country's grain production, accounting for approximately 25% of total supplies. However, these provinces are grappling with economic struggles as they transition from their industrial roots. She called for a comprehensive strategy to enhance the agricultural sector, advocating for a diversified food supply system that integrates modern practices and technologies. He urged local officials to promote scientific and technological advancements, as well as green and high-quality agricultural practices that could lead to the establishment of prominent agricultural brands. This initiative is seen as essential for not only meeting domestic food demands but also for positioning China as a key player in global agricultural markets. The emphasis on a market-oriented approach is particularly noteworthy. She stated that the region must create a better business environment that adheres to legal and international standards. His remarks indicate a dual focus on economic revitalization through agriculture and a strategic pivot towards a more open economy, which may attract foreign investment and expertise to help bolster local production capacities. In a broader context, Xi's reaffirmation of food security comes against the backdrop of increasing global food supply challenges, notably influenced by climate change and geopolitical tensions. As countries worldwide reassess their food supply chains, China's strategy under Xi's leadership appears to prioritize self-sufficiency while also preparing for possible international collaborations. Meanwhile, the recent visit by Thailand's Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra to China serves as an example of how regional leaders are navigating their diplomatic and economic ties amid these global challenges. Shinawatra's discussions with Xi centered on cooperation against cyber scams and enhancing bilateral economic connections, indicating a shared interest in strengthening security and economic frameworks that could support food security and technological advancement. As China moves forward, the interplay between food security, technological innovation, and international cooperation will likely shape its agricultural policies. The government's focus on revitalizing northeastern provinces signals a strategic investment in ensuring that these areas not only sustain their agricultural heritage but also emerge as modern contributors to the national economy. The outcomes of these initiatives will be closely watched, as they could set a precedent for how other nations address similar issues in the face of changing global dynamics. As Xi Jinping continues to advocate for a comprehensive approach to food security, the implications for both domestic policy and international relations will unfold, potentially reshaping the landscape of global agriculture and trade in the coming years. In a progressive shift towards revitalizing its economy, China is identifying new consumption drivers that signal a departure from traditional growth models. President Xi Jinping recently underscored this strategy during the Central Economic Work Conference (CEWC) held in December 2024, outlining key tasks for 2025 aimed at boosting domestic demand and fostering innovation across various sectors. With the backdrop of growing external pressures and internal challenges, the emphasis on consumption as a growth engine is not just a reiteration of past policies, but a critical pivot towards sustainable economic resilience. The CEWC highlighted several focus areas, including enhancing consumption, improving investment efficiency, and fostering scientific and technological innovation. President Xi's frequent references to the importance of consumption over the years reflect a long-term strategy that aims to reduce China's reliance on foreign markets. Since the introduction of the dual circulation strategy in 2020, China has been working to balance domestic and international economic dynamics, with consumption emerging as a vital pillar for boosting local demand. A notable aspect of the 2024 CEWC was the introduction of new economic concepts such as the debut economy, ice and snow economy, and silver economy. Each of these sectors represents a fresh avenue for growth, with the debut economy focusing on innovative products and services, while the ice and snow economy capitalizes on winter sports and tourism. The latter is particularly timely as China aims to engage 300 million people in winter sports by 2025, leveraging the momentum from the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. According to the State Council, the ice and snow industry is projected to generate 1.5 trillion yuan, $208 billion by 2030, indicating a strong potential for job creation and economic diversification. Reports from Xinhua reveal that the revenue of major sportswear brands has surged, with companies like Anta and Li Ning seeing substantial growth. Yet challenges remain, particularly in infrastructure and climate variability, which can affect the sustainability of winter sports initiatives. The silver economy, aimed at addressing the needs of China's aging population, also marks a significant shift in economic planning. Initiatives to enhance elder care services and attract foreign investment in this sector could create a robust supply chain encompassing healthcare, leisure, and construction. However, the looming demographic challenges, including declining birth rates and high youth unemployment, present serious concerns for economic stability. Indeed, youth unemployment in China has reached alarming levels, with figures exceeding 20% among those aged 16 to 24. This demographic pressure complicates the economic landscape, creating a dual challenge of fostering new industries while addressing job creation for a disillusioned youth population. As local governments are pressured to adapt to these changing dynamics, the necessity for a comprehensive approach to economic reform becomes clear. As China embarks on this ambitious journey to redefine its consumption landscape, the interplay between emerging sectors and underlying economic challenges will determine the success of these initiatives. Monitoring the growth of these new segments in conjunction with demographic trends will be crucial. The ability of the Chinese economy to navigate this transition and leverage its unique strengths will be pivotal in shaping its future trajectory. In conclusion, as China pursues these innovative economic strategies, a keen focus on both growth and sustainability will be necessary. The coming years will be critical in assessing how effectively the country can adapt to internal challenges while capitalizing on its new consumption drivers to foster a more resilient economic future. In an era marked by escalating tensions between the United States and China, the narrative surrounding China's global ambitions is under scrutiny. Recent analyses suggest a nuanced understanding of Beijing's intentions, challenging the dominant perception that China seeks to supplant the U.S. as the world's preeminent power. Paul Here, a noted expert in East Asian affairs, emphasizes that China's objective is not to unilaterally redefine international norms but to enhance its participation in shaping those norms alongside the U.S. Here highlights that amidst the ongoing political adjustments in Washington, particularly with the Trump administration taking office, the consensus on how to approach China remains elusive. Key figures within Trump's national security team have characterized China as a significant threat, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio labeling it as the most potent and dangerous near-peer adversary America has faced. However, President Trump himself has displayed a more personal and transactional approach towards Chinese President Xi Jinping, often focusing on the potential for resolving issues rather than framing the relationship in stark ideological terms. Contrary to the prevailing narrative that views Xi Jinping's leadership as an aggressive bid for global dominance, recent discussions reveal a different perspective. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's assertion that China has no intention of overtaking or replacing anyone has been met with skepticism. But it invites a deeper examination of China's strategic calculus. Esteemed analysts like Melanie Sisson argue that the Chinese leadership is acutely aware of historical precedents of failed hegemonic ambitions, leading them to adopt a more pragmatic approach aimed at maximizing their influence within a multipolar world rather than pursuing a zero-sum contest with the U.S. Sisson's work sheds light on the significant yet often misunderstood dynamics of U.S.-China relations. She posits that the real challenge for Washington is not the emergence of a Chinese-led world order but rather the legitimacy of the Chinese Communist Party (CCP) within the existing international framework. China's growing ability to demonstrate that its political model is stable and effective poses a challenge to U.S. interests, provoking fears that a more influential China could undermine liberal values globally. The perception of an existential threat from China is further complicated by domestic political considerations in the U.S., where framing China as an aggressor diverts attention from pressing internal issues and policy choices that could facilitate a more constructive engagement with Beijing. Sisson contends that this inflated threat narrative has led to a confrontational approach that could inadvertently increase risks for the U.S. Historical insights into the post-World War II order reveal that while the U.S. has been a primary architect of this international system, it has often fluctuated between fully endorsing its principles and resisting constraints imposed by multilateral agreements. Conversely, Beijing's relationship with the post-war order has been more complex. As China has gradually integrated itself into existing institutions while simultaneously advocating for reforms that align with its national interests. In addressing the future of U.S.-China relations, CISN advocates for a strategy of pragmatic engagement. Recognizing that both nations have a vested interest in maintaining a rules-based international order, she argues for dialogue aimed at delineating mutually acceptable frameworks for cooperation. This approach necessitates a departure from the notion of irreconcilable differences, acknowledging that while both sides may pursue their interests, there remains a common ground on which to build. The current geopolitical landscape illustrates the urgency of this dialogue. As tensions continue to simmer, particularly concerning issues like Taiwan and regional security, both Washington and Beijing must navigate their relationship with care. The challenge lies in moving beyond a zero-sum mentality towards a cooperative framework that acknowledges the complexities of their respective ambitions. In conclusion, as the global stage evolves, the path forward for U.S.-China relations will require careful negotiation and the willingness to engage in constructive dialogue. The recognition of shared interests amidst competitive dynamics could pave the way for a more stable and cooperative international order, but achieving this will demand a re-evaluation of entrenched narratives and a commitment to mutual understanding. The coming years will be critical in determining whether both nations can transcend historical grievances and work towards a shared vision of global governance. In recent months, China's economic landscape has witnessed a seismic shift as policymakers pivot toward new consumption drivers aimed at revitalizing growth and addressing long-standing structural challenges. During the Central Economic Work Conference CEWC held in December 2024, President Xi Jinping outlined a comprehensive strategy to bolster domestic consumption, enhance investment efficiency, and foster innovation through scientific and technological advancements. This renewed focus on domestic economic activity comes in response to a myriad of challenges, including external pressures, insufficient domestic demand, and rising unemployment, particularly among the youth. Historically, the CEWC has repeatedly underscored consumption's critical role in driving China's economic growth. However, the 2024 conference marked a notable departure as President Xi introduced the concepts of the debut economy, ice and snow economy, and silver economy as fresh avenues for growth. The debut economy encompasses new products, innovative business models, and the launch of flagship stores, signaling a shift toward a more dynamic marketplace where consumer engagement is paramount. Perhaps the most ambitious of these initiatives is the ice and snow economy, which aims to capitalize on China's growing interest in winter sports, particularly following the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. The government has set a target of engaging 300 million citizens in winter sports by 2025, with expectations that this will not only boost tourism but also create jobs and stimulate economic activity in regions characterized by cold climates. With projections estimating the ice and snow industry could reach 1.5 trillion yuan, $208 billion by 2030, the potential for economic revitalization is significant. Reports indicate that major sportswear brands including Anta and Li-Ning have already seen substantial revenue growth in this sector. However, while these emerging segments present promising opportunities, they are not without challenges. Climate change poses a looming threat to the viability of winter sports, as unpredictable snowfall and shortened seasons could hinder participation in training. Furthermore, disparities in regional development mean that many areas lack the necessary infrastructure to fully support these new industries, potentially leading to uneven economic benefits. In tandem with these efforts, policymakers are increasingly focused on the silver economy, aimed at addressing the needs of China's aging population. With the first official guidelines released in January 2024, the government is positioning itself to attract foreign investment in elder care services, healthcare, and related sectors. This initiative not only acknowledges the demographic realities of an aging society but also seeks to leverage the economic potential inherent in this demographic shift. Yet as China strives to cultivate these new economic segments, it grapples with pressing issues such as youth unemployment, which soared to alarming levels in 2023. The youth unemployment rate for those aged 16 to 24 reached a staggering 21.3% before a restructuring of data collection methods resulted in slightly lower figures. Nevertheless, the challenges remain formidable. With many young people struggling to secure stable employment in a rapidly changing economic landscape. The intersection of these new consumption drivers and the broader challenges facing China underscores a complex narrative. While the introduction of the debut ice and snow and silver economies represents an innovative approach to stimulating growth, the enduring issues of demographic shifts and unemployment are critical hurdles that cannot be overlooked. As the Chinese government embarks on this ambitious economic transformation, the success of these initiatives will ultimately depend on their ability to address these underlying structural challenges. Looking ahead, the coming years will be pivotal for China's economic trajectory. As the country continues to navigate domestic and international pressures, the efficacy of its new consumption strategies will be closely monitored. The interplay between emerging economic sectors and existing challenges will shape the future of China's economy, determining not only the success of these initiatives but also the overall stability and prosperity of the nation in a rapidly evolving global landscape.